What is up, y'all? So here it is. I'm coming to you live and uncut with my V-neck going hard on a Sunday. So hopefully you guys are having a good one. So I am going to go over today my top 20 action movies, according to me. All right. So let me just tell you a little bit about this list. So I think that there might be a little controversy on the list. Some people might not think something's an action movie or that it is or that I'm missing out. But hey, I put call to actions out there all the time to hit me up. So if you're not hitting me up and you got an idea, I don't know it. I'm not a mind reader, so this is just my thoughts. So make your own fucking list, right? Or hit me up, leave a comment. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you're on the Facebook page. Make sure you follow me on my social media. All that shit is up. And then obviously subscribe to the podcast, which you should be listening to because it will help you in life. But the hardest part about this list was really narrowing it down to 20 because I got to thinking, and like 5 Steven Seagal movies right off the bat popped in my head that I liked. You know what I mean? But again, so I tried to kind of narrow it down so the action stars, the action stars or whatever, don't get a lot of appearances or multiple because a lot of them could. But I tried to keep it pretty fair and roundabout, and it kind of mixes all over the place. So we will get into Randy Paddock's 20 action movies. All right. So here we go. And then I wrote the list. This is how professional I am. I wrote the list on the back of an envelope. So it's kind of out of order. But we'll start with number 20 here. And number 20, I have, again, maybe starting off a little controversial. I don't know if it's a quote-unquote action movie, but I think it is. So number 20 be Enter the Dragon. So Bruce Lee, baby. Enter the Dragon. So this really what kicked off like kung fu movies and all that stuff in America. I don't know, it was like the 60s or 70s or something like that. It was awesome. So they go, Bruce Lee and a couple of other random guys. There's that dude with the awesome afro, and like the old white man. They all go to this. Essentially, it's like a Mortal Kombat style tournament where you go to this really rich guy who's got this hand that comes off, and he ends up doing like putting a claw on. He's got like a Wolverine claw and a spike, and you basically fight. And sometimes they fight to the death. Bruce Lee runs into like the guy with the scar on his face that raped his sister or something. She killed herself. He takes care of him. But I just remember there's like those iconic images from that movie. Bruce Lee like wow with like the mirrors all over the place and just the scratches from the claw fighting that guy. So it was like Bruce Lee getting introduced to the world, and I think he died like not that long after Enter Dragon came out, so that's kind of a bummer. The guy with the afro was awesome. He's like a 70s pimp, and he's like, I'm going in the moonlight, baby, and shit like that. So that movie's awesome. All right, number 19, The Mechanic. So Statham. He was huge, and he's got a lot of movies. And to be dead honest with you, I like him a lot. My favorites he's in are like Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels is probably my favorite Statham's in, or some when he's in an ensemble cast. Or Snatch or something. But I don't know. I wouldn't really put those as action movies. The fact of the matter is, all his like real action movies where he's the main guy, I get them very confused. Like The Transporter or Crank or fucking whatever. But The Mechanic I like. He teaches that he's like teaching the one kid who's like the Nazi in Alpha Dog. He's also in the X-Men. He's like the dude with the wings. I don't know what the hell his name is, but he's like a assassin, like a cold hard killer. And he like teaches the kid, knowing that he had like killed the kid's dad, and the kid was coming after him some other way. And he works on his car all the time. It's The Mechanic, but that movie's pretty awesome, and Statham kicks a lot of ass in it, so you might want to check that one out. All right, 18, The Rock. So this movie's fucking awesome. And my buddy Keegs used to talk about it like when we were in high school all the time because he liked doing the. So it's Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, all right, and Ed Harris. And Ed Harris is like from The Abyss or that movie Milk Money when like with Melanie Griffith when she's like a hooker and he's the dad that falls in love with her. But in this one he's like a Marine gone nuts and they take over Alcatraz and they have all these nuclear bombs and they're like holding like San Francisco or Oakland or something captive. So Nicolas Cage is like the nerdy scientist guy that knows about it, and they break out Sean Connery. He's the only guy ever to escape from The Rock, which is Alcatraz. He's in jail, and they got to get after it. But he's got some awesome lines in there, and the best one is he's like, "Losers go home and," or it's like, "Losers whine about trying their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen." And that's like that's a bad Sean Connery voice, but that's one of the sweetest lines I think ever in a movie. So The Rock, Awesome movie. Disgruntled army guys take it over, and Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. Giddy up. Number 17. All right, so 17, 300. Awesome, you know. Um, it's just an awesome movie. Like the way it was made, like that graphic novel style, just the boot kick in the chest. This is Sparta. I remember shortly after it came out, we were at Side Outs or something like that, and Dave Salemi, I forgot who it was, but there was someone sitting like on a stool at Side Outs, and he's like, "This is Sparta," and he chest kicked him right off his stool. It's pretty awesome. But Gerard Butler, the abs, the Spartans, the way, the hoof. Like the bad chick from Game of Thrones is his wife, and everyone likes her in there. Then McNulty's a fucking weirdo creep in it as well. Great movie, 300. Gives you some hope. All right, so that brings us to 16. So 16, this is hilarious. Like it's an action. This is like about action movies. So Nicolas Cage makes 2 appearances, which is kind of hilarious. And then John Travolta's in this one as well. So Faceoff. All right. This movie is awesome. Okay, I don't give a shit if you don't like Travolta, you don't like Cage. They're hilarious in their own rights. Face Off is a sweet ass movie. So essentially, what happens in Face Off is Castor Troy is the bad guy. That's Nicolas Cage, and then John Travolta is the good guy. He's the cop catching him, and like the Castor Troy killed his son, so he's got this vendetta against him. Anyhow, they end up catching him, but Castor Troy is like falls in this coma. He's got this crazy mission going on. So Travolta needs to figure it out by getting the info from his brother that's in jail. So what he does is they switch faces. So while he's like sleeping, they take his face, Cage's face, put it on Travolta, and Travolta goes like undercover as Nicolas Cage to figure out what's going to be going down. But what happens is Nicolas Cage wakes up, figures it out. He ends up putting on Travolta's face, killing everybody, so no one knows that there was a face swap going on, and then goes to live his life as Travolta, so a bad guy as the good cop, and then Travolta's got to figure out how he's going to come across as Nicolas Cage, and then there's some shitty voice swapping later on. He's talking about eating peaches. He's a fucking creep. Watch that movie. Don't laugh at me. It's awesome. Give it a watch. Face Off at 16. So that goes up to 15. So this movie's actually pretty awesome. It's a long one, though, but it's sweet and it's star-studded. It's got a lot of star power, and that'd be Heat. All right, so we're talking Val Kilmer before he was, like, fat Val Kilmer. We're talking, what the hell's that guy's name? Mike, I don't know, he's in, oh shit, he's in this movie. He's in this twice now, and I'm thinking about it. His name isn't Mike. Crap, I forgot what it is, but he was the one that was married to Heidi Fleiss and like beat her. His name will come to me, but he's in another one of these movies too. And then obviously Pacino, De Niro. So Pacino's chasing De Niro and his gang, and they're bank robbers, right? And there's that awesome scene when they're robbing the one bank, and they're just having that machine gun fight in the middle of the streets. And then there's that iconic scene where they're both sitting in the diner, and it's like finally Pacino and De Niro were like having it out, and he's like, "When the time comes, we're face to face. I'm gonna have to put you down." And they're telling each other essentially they're gonna kill each other. So that movie's awesome. It's a long one though, but Heat, give it a watch. Super good. All right, 14. You gotta have this on there, right? And that's gonna be Lethal Weapon, right? Briggs, Murtaugh, right? So they're good shit. Danny Glover's too old for this shit. Mel Gibson's a wild card going around and doing things that says, Riggs, that's my Danny Glover, right? So, Lethal Weapon, and there's like 5 of them, right? But the first one's the best. Mel Gibson's got that tight-ass jeans, that sweet mullet, doesn't give a fuck what's going on. So, it's awesome. Obviously, Glover's hilarious in there with his revolver. And then they made that National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon with Emilio Estevez and Samuel L. Jackson spoofing it. That's hilarious, too, if you want to give that one a watch. All right, so that brings us to 14, I believe. Where is it at on here? 17, 16, 15, 14. I have no clue where it went, so maybe I didn't write one down, or we'll skip, or maybe I'm off numbers. But we're going to go to Rambo is next. So it's either 14 or 13. Whatever it is, it's Rambo. That's crazy that I didn't write that one down. I don't know. Rambo, obviously, Stallone, old school, great story. I guess it was the on-site of what would become known as PTSD, right? Rambo's a non-vet, just wants to be left alone. He's got a lot of crazy visions. Brian Denny and the boys fuck with them. The cops, he freaks out, kills one of them or something, goes into the woods, and then they're chasing Rambo around. And he doesn't want to hurt anybody, but he will use violence. So these guys want to kill him because he's like taking out their own. But that's it, Rambo, first blood, right? So he'll eat stuff that makes a billy goat puke. You know, they find out he's this crazy special ops guy that was tortured and stuff in Vietnam. But the original First Blood is awesome. All right, so that's coming up now to number 12, which would be Kickboxer. So Jean-Claude Van Damme, Kickboxer. This movie's sweet, okay, for a couple of reasons. So one, I mean, Van Damme was just sweet. I think I liked Van Damme a lot. All of his movies were pretty awesome. But this one was like really cool because it had Tom Poe, who's like the biggest cocksucker, like I was gonna say or Ian, son of a bitch on the planet. He was like a great bad guy, and here's why. So it starts off that Van Damme's brother's like the kickboxing champ of America, whoops everyone's ass. He's like, I'm gonna go to Thailand, I'm gonna fuck up their best guy. Well, their best guy is Tom Poe, and you're not gonna fuck him up because they played American kickboxer rules, and Tom Poe and the boys did Muay Thai, so they're throwing elbows, they're throwing knees. So it all starts when like they're prepping for the fight, and all of a sudden like the ground's shaking. There's like an earthquake going, it's like doof, 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 and like shit's falling from the sky. Van Damme goes, checks out Tom Poe, just leg kicking, just smashing on like a pillar in like shaking the building. And then like Van Damme sees me like, holy shit, tries to tell his brother's cocky. He's like, yeah, I'll be fine. Anyhow, when he's fighting Tom Poe starts elbowing him and kneeing him. He's like, what's this going on? These aren't against the rules. Fucks him up, makes him paralyzed. So Van Damme's got to redeem it, gets trained to fight him. Tom Poe ends up like raping Van Damme's chick and doing all this crazy shit. But Van Damme, they fight in the old school like Thailand way at the end where they dip their hands into the glass and they're fighting. And Tom Poe like calls a shot around. He's like, that means he's gonna just hit him with elbows. He's like, just fist. But give it a watch. It's awesome. All right. So then that would bring me down to number 11. So 11. Aliens. Alright, so not Alien, which is a good movie. The first one with Sigourney Weaver in that, but Aliens, like the plural with like Bill Paxton and the boys. I just remember when I was a kid, this movie scared the shit out of me, and it was awesome. Just the firepower they were bringing. There were so many more aliens going around. Like, I had all the toys I used to play with on Anderson Road, so that was a big one of my childhood. And again, they made a lot of different aliens. They're all pretty sweet, but Aliens, the second Aliens is by far my favorite. All right, 10. So this was hard for me, okay? The top 10 was really tough, but this was especially hard because Steven Seagal, I like all his movies. I'm a Seagal fan, all right? Like, say what you will, he's a fucking strange dude and he's weird, but his movies in the 80s and 90s were awesome. So I went with, all right, I can't do them all. What's going to be my favorite? So I did Out for Justice. Okay, so if you don't know what's up for, sorry, I'm just looking at my list a little bit. So if you don't know what up with Out for Justice, in the beginning, that dude that plays like the he's in the Devil's Rejects. I know that he plays like the cop that's chasing them. But anyways, he shoots Richie right in the middle of the streets in New York, right? So Gino's like that's Steven Seagal, right? He's the cop, and that's his streets in New York there, and you don't do that. So he's looking for Richie. And why do you do Bobby Lupo? Oh, that's what he killed. He killed Bobby Lupo. The bad guy's Richie. So this movie is great for a couple of reasons. One, Seagal has this fake-ass, shitty New York accent. He talks in broken Italian, and they go in and out of broken Italian a lot with the mafioso bosses. And then he just always is looking for Richie. Why do you do Bobby Lupo? That's what he's talking about. And then he's got that awesome scene when he goes into the pool hall, and some good shit happens. Like so that's when he's in. He goes, "I'm looking for Richie. You see Richie?" He's talking to Richie's brother, and he fucks up all these guys in the pool hall because they say, "Hey, you ain't shit without your gun in your bag." And he said, "All right, here's my gun." Takes it out. He's like, "Now here's my badge. It's a trophy. Come get it. Come get my badge." So that's what he says to these guys. Then they come out to get him, obviously. Beats them all up. He puts like a cue ball in a sock, starts smashing people. Then they got the Asian guy, of course, his name's Sticks, who has the broken cue, and like they have like a fucking mambo fight with it. But it's awesome. Yeah, Richie, Bobby Lupo, Out for Justice. Give that one a watch. All right, so number 9. Again, action movies. I guess you can make like a whole subset of like war movies, but this is my favorite war movie, and it's just one of my favorite movies in general, and that would be Platoon. So obviously, Platoon's awesome. You got Barnes, you got Elias, right? So you got Behringer, you got Willem Dafoe, you got Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen enlists, goes to Vietnam. There's the two camps, right? There's Behringer in the bad motherfuckers camp, and then there's Elias and like the stoners camp. So it's some great things in that. Johnny Depp's in it. The guy that plays the main guy on Scrubs is in it. And he's like the biggest pussy in it. He's always hiding out there. The Murphy Deathlock, right? You got Kevin Dillon, who's fucking Bunny, who's a little bit nutty in there, but Tom Berenger is like real crazy from the bush, right? And then they got that awesome scene where like Charlie Sheen goes down in the basement with all the burnouts with like Elias and Forrest Whitaker, and they're smoking weed and they listen to little Smokey Robinson tracks in my tears. That's good shit. But that movie's awesome, right? When Behringer's talking to Willem Dafoe, he says everybody dies, Elias, right? And there's that iconic run where Behringer thinks he kills Elias, and they take the choppers out, and he comes running out of the bush, and he gets shot, and his hands go up a fucking platoon. It makes America look bad too, which is good because in Vietnam there was like a lot of gnarly shit going on. So it does a good job of documenting that. I think it's an awesome movie. All right, number 8. So I love this movie. Speed, baby. Keanu in Speed. So Dennis Hopper's the bad guy, right? Pop quiz, hot shot. So he's a disgruntled LAPD officer who like fucked himself up with bombs and stuff. And he retired and he goes crazy. So Keanu Reeves is like the rookie guy. I don't know if he's a rookie or not, but he's the hot shot rookie. Or I'm sorry, Jeff Daniels is like his leading officer guy. And then we got Sandra Bullock. She's the bus driver. So what happens is this. Dennis Hopper gets pissed, starts blowing shit up. Then he takes a bus. He puts a bomb on a bus. And after it goes 50 miles an hour, it detonates. And if it goes under 50, it's going to blow up the bus. He calls up the Fed, says, "Pop quiz, hot shot. There's a bomb on the bus." Talking to Keanu because him and Keanu have beef from earlier when he tried to catch him from blowing some other stuff up. So he calls out Keanu with this. Keanu gets on the bus. Bus driver gets shot. Sandra Bullock, who takes his bus all the time, ends up taking over driving. And all kinds of crazy shit happens. Speed, awesome movie. Great lines from Dennis Hopper there. So it's good shit. And that would bring us into number 7. So for me, again, I think it's an action movie, even though there's some downsides, but it's like slower stuff. It's another long one. Braveheart. Like, how do you not like Braveheart? Mel Gibson in there, right? Like, William Wallace, right? You bled with Wallace, now you bleed with me, right? That's what Robert the Bruce says. But phenomenal movie. Awesome. It's got all things about it. It's got crazy war. It's got awesome leadership. It's got a great message. It's about hope. It's about freedom, right? And it's awesome. And every time it comes on like TBS or something, or like a channel with commercials, I'll watch it anyways, even though it's going to take 8 hours with all these commercials. But it is awesome. And we go into number 6. All right, for me, number 6, Dark Knight Rises. All right, so I'm a big fan of the Chris Nolan Batman series. I like that those Batmans, you know what I mean? Like Christian Bale as Batman, even though he does his voice like this or whatever. But Dark Knight Rises was my favorite because Tom Hardy was in it. That Bane character was awesome. And I like those because, like, not to say that the Dark Knight wasn't the shit, because it was very much. And Heath Ledger, that Joker, was awesome. But the Dark Knight Rises, I liked it a little bit more. I liked how there was like the takeover of Gotham and the downside, and you know, it was, and then obviously Batman's coming back as the good guy, which is good. So Dark Knight Rises, Bane, Batman, Catwoman, good shit. Give it a watch. And now we're going to get into the top 5, all right? So the top 5, this was very tough for me, and I think a lot of these people might agree with, might be just in different orders, but I think I did a pretty good job nailing it. So here we go. Number 5, we got your boy Arnold Schwarzenegger, Predator. All right. So, some iconic scenes in Predator. So what Predator is from space, these fucking killing things come out, these predators that just smash everybody, right? So it all starts off with, there's like Schwarzenegger's like a special forces guy, like leader. He goes down to the bush, meets Apollo Creed. They do the brother handshake where they slap arms and their biceps are just smashing. And then they're going to go on this mission. They got to like save somebody. Anyways, Apollo Creed didn't tell him their correct mission, so Schwarzenegger gets pissed because he finds out they're expendable and that it's like they're not coming back type of mission. Anyhow, so on this mission, they got a lot of bad guys, but with that, this fucking Predator lives in these woods and or in this jungle and is taking these guys out. So awesome characters in this movie. So you got the Apollo Creed guy, obviously Schwarzenegger, and then Jesse the Body with some of the greatest lines ever, right? He's eating like Red Man Chew. He's like, "You want some chew?" He's like, "This shit'll make you a sexual tyrannosaurus." Then he calls him a bunch of slack-jawed faggots, right? I'm like, it's like very like not politically correct, but that's what he called them. And then he gets shot. They're like, "Sarge, you're hitting your bleeds." Like, "I ain't got time to bleed." And like spitting his jaw everywhere. So he's got those lines. There's that dude that's always just like shaving his face. And then ends up like breaking his razor. There's like the crazy Native American guy with the knife. They got the crazy. There's so much machine gun and so much shooting, a lot of killing. It's a great movie if you like action. Obviously, Arnold then takes on the Predator and starts figuring out about how to cover himself in the mud. And then when he sees the Predator, he's like, "You're one ugly motherfucker," right? Great line, Predator. Watch it. I used to get drunk and watch it before I went to bed all the time in college. It was awesome. All right, number 4. So obviously this one is probably on everyone's list, probably a top 5er. It could be on this list. It could be on Christmas movies list. All right, depending on how you look at it. Die Hard, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. John McClane, baby, and Hans Gruber, you son of a bitch. R.I.P. Pour out a little liquor, right? So obviously Die Hard, awesome movie, right? Terrorist taking over. One cop, a drunk cop, and a wife beater with no shoes walking on glass. Got to take him out. Enough said. Carl Winslow is his boy. If you ain't into Die Hard, you ain't no friend of mine. I can guarantee you that. All right. Now this is going to bring us into the top 3. Okay, so I don't know if I got this right, but it's my top 3, and here we go. Number 3, Van Damme makes a return. This is in Bloodsport. Bloodsport's one of the best movies I think ever made. All right, so the Kumite, right? So Frank Dukes, he's a kid who looked like he was, I don't know, but he's on the spectrum as a child, it looks like, and he breaks into this samurai guy's house to break his sword. The samurai ends up teaching him the way the samurai enlists in the army, Sergeant Frank Dukes or whatever. He ends up going AWOL because he needs to fight in this tournament for his Shidoshi, and that is the Kumite out in Japan. So he heads over there to do that. The Kumite is like an underground fight tournament where all the best fighters from all over the world come and fight, and you can kill people there if you'd like. So he goes down, he meets another American. The other American is Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds, and he's American as fuck. Sweet mullet, sweet beard, Harley Davidson, little headband he wears. So they go to the Kumite to fight everybody. You got the guy from like Jamaica or whatever who does the monkey jumping around. You got the sumo wrestler. You got a couple of this guy, the Muay Thai guy that makes the stank face the whole time. You got some ninjas. You got some karate guys. So you got a little bit of everything. Then you got the main guy. I forget what the fuck his name is, but that's bothering me. But he's like the champion. He's also in Enter the Dragon, right? He's like you know if you see him, he's in a lot of those in those movies, in Double Impact as well with Van Damme. But anyhow, so kind of Frank Duke's ripping it up. He's whooping everyone's ass. The Kumite's going on, and then the main bad guy beats up Ogre, right? Steals his Harley Davidson thing, puts him in the hospital. So Frank Duke gets pissed off. So they end up rumbling, and then there's the great scene. He gets the sand in his eyes, and he can't see because the main bad guy's cheap. So he throws the sand in his eyes, and Van Damme's like, "Oh!" Right? He can't see, but he goes back to his old school training of snatching fish out of like a bucket blindfold and doing things blindfold that Shidoshi made him do. Anyways, he fights the guy blindfold, does the splits, punching the balls, and then he makes him essentially tap out. So it's awesome. Bloodsport's fucking awesome. If you haven't seen it, you gotta watch it. All right, top 2. And I had a tough time with this one, and some people might not agree with me on how I did it, but I don't care. Again, it's my list. Submit your own. Number 2, Schwarzenegger's back, this time Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It was the greatest action movie of all time for a long time. Might have been surpassed by now. I don't know. In my eyes, awesome. Terminator 1's awesome. They made a bunch of sense. That are great. T2 was so sweet. All right, you had it all. You had Guns N' Roses. You had Eddie Furlong, the punk-ass kid, right? You had Schwarzenegger. And then you had the T-1000, right? So, and then he's trying to help Sarah Connor and John Connor save him from the T-1000, right? Then you meet Miles Bennett Dyson, who created Skynet, and that Judgment Day that was going to happen. So, yeah, that son of a bitch. Miles Bennett Dyson also is one of the cops that helps Keanu Reeves in Speed, so that all ties together. But anyways, this movie's awesome. Like, the special effects were great at the time. Lots of action. Like, when Schwarzenegger and the two Terminators are fighting, It's great. The T1000 goes liquid. You know, he's allowed to change into people. Edward Furlong's talking about, he's teaching Schwarzenegger how to be hip, all the stuff. You know, they're bros. T2, Terminator 2, legit. All right, and then it comes to my number one, and I don't know if people are going to agree with me on this, but this is not only the top action movie in my eyes, but it's probably one of my favorite movies, top three at least, favorite movies of all time, and this would be Point Break. And I'm talking the original. I'm talking, and this is again Keanu's second time. I'm talking Keanu. I'm talking Swayze, baby. I'm talking Johnny Utah. I'm talking Bodie, the Bodhisattva, right? Lori Petty, right? And Gary Busey, right? And I'm talking shit getting crazy. So how this goes, Keanu Reeves, Ohio State quarterback, Johnny Utah, in the bowl game, knee peeled back, goes FBI, joins up, all right, with Busey. All right, now they're boys. Angelo Pappas, all right? Angelo Pappas, welcome to SeaWorld, punk. He's the OG, all right? There's these bank robbers. They wear all these dead presidents masks. They rob people. Pappas has been chasing, doesn't know what's going on. Utah, he brings some fire back, lights a fire under his ass, gets a spark on him. They want to figure it out. His thought is Pappas thinks they're surfers. So Utah goes undercover. Gets Lori Petty, a.k.a. Tank Girl. She teaches him. She happens to be hooked up with the Bodhisattva, with Bodie, Swayze. Starts seeing him, befriends them. Right, and then he starts surfing, man, and Bodie kind of takes him under his wing. And Bodie and the boys, man, they're radical. All right, they're into it all. So they're into skydiving, they're into pushing the limits. Anyhow, so they think they found the group. So it's War Child, it's Kiedis, right? Anthony Kiedis is in there. So these guys, and Bunker, he's one of them for sure. So as Swayze says, those guys live to get radical. So Utah thinks it's those guys. Ends up not being those guys. Awesome shootout. Figures out that the dead presidents are his new buddies, Bodie and the boys. So he's got to figure out my spiritual side, or do I want to be a cop and bust him? So all this shit goes on. It's pretty crazy. And then some of the greatest lines ever are in there. All right, Pappas and Utah are out on stakeout watching this bank. All right, so Pappas says, or Keanu Reeves, Johnny Utah's going to go get some sandwiches and some drinks. So he's going to get a lunch order for Pappas. He leaves out, right? And Pappas gets extra hungry in the car. Says, Utah, make it 2, right? You give me 2, Utah. Give me 2. Awesome. All right. And then that guy from Platoon who's also in Scrubs. He's like the commanding officer who hates Pappas in Point Break as well. He's yelling at Utah one time. He's like, tell me some great news. And he said, I caught my first tube today, sir. Awesome, right? Bodie, Bells Beach, Australia. The 50-year storm, right? Bodie believes in that 50-year storm. That twice a century, the world and Mother Nature and the ocean opens up to show us how small we really are. And there's no way Bells is bigger than Waimea, bro. But it will be at the 50-year storm. Anyways, Johnny Utah figures out that these are the bad guys. He chases them. Bodie gets, he figures out Utah's getting after him. He enlists Rosie, who's one of his henchmen, to kidnap Lori Petty. So Utah's got that going on. There's awesome scenes, great stuff. Anyways, they find out Swayze gets away, but Utah knows where to find him, and that's Bells Beach, Australia. They reminisce, talking about, you've been surfing every day, right? So Bodie helped Utah become the spiritual man that he is. Anyways, they get in a little fight. Bodie says, let me go, man, let me go. So Utah lets him go and ride out into the 50-year storm, the biggest waves ever, right? Via con Dios, bro. That's what he tells him. God be with you, right? And then they say, hey, we'll catch you when he comes back in. And Utah says, he ain't coming back. He knows Bodie's going out there to live radical and die radical, right? Throws his badge fucking over. Fucking awesome. Then they remade it. The remake wasn't that shitty, but watch the original Point Break. So good. Anyhow, there's probably more that I'm missing. Like something that popped in my head just now when I was talking about this. I forgot that I really like, so honorable mentions. Tombstone, one of the greatest fucking movies ever. Gangs of New York, one of the greatest movies ever. So those would probably be on my list if I thought about it more. If they just popped in my head how I was going. Submit your list. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel. Give me some likes. Give me some shares. Giddy up and have an awesome time. And until next list, we'll see. Peace.